Morning, all Spurs fans. I hope everybody's keeping well today on this wet and cold Sunday morning. Hope everybody's looking forward to the match today against Fulham, 2 o'clock. Just got a little video to do, bit of Spurs news, little bit of Spurs chat, final thoughts on the Fulham game. So look, it's picking up from the press. Last couple of days, just been reading up some reports, what I've been reading on in the papers, Talksport. Now, there was a video out from Talksport the other night. Alex Crook, Sam Matterface and Troy Deeney, they're talking about Ange's his comments after the Roma game and in his press conference. And basically, it's talking about, I think it was, I can't remember which one said it, but it's talking about entertainment, talking about the style, bringing the feel-good factor back to Spurs. And they were kind of like saying that they're excusing Spurs' naivety, giving players an excuse and not creating a winning mentality, which I do agree with, to be honest. They also said that Tottenham are not a serious football club that want to win silverware. Obviously, fans want it. But do the players want it, they said? Do the owners want it enough? When Ange comes out and says these type of comments about playing just entertaining football, does he want it enough? You know, I myself, I want our team to win. And what Alex said is that he said it as well about his own club, Man United, wants to win with some conviction. And I thought, look, that's what I want. And many fans want that as well. They want to win with conviction. So there is context here with it all, because we are only 3 points from top four. And we have scored a lot of goals this season and not conceded that many compared to some of the other teams in the league. So it is very confusing. However, if you look at the results so far this season, we've lost almost half our games. And if that rate continues, we won't be able to sustain a push for a high position in the league. We don't have killers up front, really, do we? We've had players who've kind of all helped out with the goals. You know, Maddison's on 5, Johnson's on 5. I think Solanke's on 3 or 4 goals. Son's on 3 goals. And I think we do lack that killer up front in that attacking third. And look, we have scored lots of goals, so it's a little bit confusing. And I think our defence is not that secure, to be honest. We're always conceding goals from anybody. So, look, we do need to build that consistency up in the team throughout the season. So that's what I'm looking for. That's why I always talk about consistency. We must get that consistency, and to 2-3 wins in a row in the Premier League. And then if we can do that, then maybe Ange and his team are learning and are improving. But the win-loss is not taking us anywhere so far. And also, it's very worried about Ange's comments, and I know I did mention it in a video the other day, that when we play a crucial cup run or league game, and the game is on a bit of a knife edge, what you want from your manager is to make the right tactical decisions to get us over the line. And I have my doubts that Ange will do this, because he has said he only wants to entertain. And we can't win all matches with that attitude. Sometimes you have to win ugly, like we should have done the other night against Roma. You know, when we were 2-1 up, it was quite later stages in the game. He should have shut the game down. He should have flooded the midfield. He should have, put more defenders on, hit it long, stop playing up from the back, and just stop Roma from getting that equaliser. Played on the counter. There was so much space behind that Roma defence, and if we were just a little bit more savvy with the ball, we could have picked somebody out and put them through on goal. So look, it's frustrating. It is frustrating, and over the past few days, it has been getting to me that Ange's comments and our inconsistent results. And that's why I just can't get behind this manager at the moment, because it's just not good enough for me. So look, let's go into some other reports I've been reading in the news. So what I want to talk about is something that Jamie Carragher it's been talking about. He said that he thinks now that Chelsea will get that top 4 position in front of Spurs. And I'll just explain what he said and go over his reasoning for that. So obviously Chelsea are currently 3rd in the league. They're a point behind Manchester City, and the league is very bunched at the moment. A lot of teams are close in points. It's only Liverpool who have got that points gap, sitting at the top of the league. Obviously, we all know where Spurs sit. They're 6th at the moment. We had a fantastic win over City last weekend, and initially, Carragher said that he thought Chelsea would finish outside the top 6 after another some of heavy turnover. But he's kind of changing his mind now, and he thinks that Tottenham will miss out because of Chelsea. And Chelsea have had an impressive start. They've also been knocked out of the Carabao Cup early as well. That's another reason in why he thinks that Chelsea will finish above Spurs. They'll have less games. They are in a weaker European competition where they can field a very, very understrength team or a second team to get them through that most of that competition until the kind of latter stages. So he's kind of saying that. Let me just keep reading this report. He says because of Chelsea's potential easier schedule, he's pointed out Spurs' maddening, he worded it, which was interesting, maddening inconsistency so far this season. You know, you beat the likes of City, you beat the likes of Villa, and then you lose to Ipswich and Palace. So you really can't put any kind of faith in Spurs getting that top 4 or building any kind of consistency. Just see what else he says. He goes, but like typical Tottenham fans wanted their Tottenham back, and they got them back. Great football, exciting, lots of goals, but you can never be sure what type of performance they're going to put in. Is it going to be the Manchester City performance away when we win 4-0? Or is it going to be the performances against Palace and Ipswich? And look, so Carragher thinks that Spurs are going to finish 5th and not getting that Champions League. I don't even think we'll finish 5th with that inconsistent results, win one, lose one. It's definitely not, because teams will improve throughout the season and build up some consistent wins. Look, so that was what Carragher's been saying. I kind of agree with him with Chelsea. I think they've just got a bigger squad than us, better quality in forward areas, some really good midfield players as well. I do think Chelsea's squad is better. I mean, their manager is deemed to be doing okay, and yeah, look, they're doing fine. Let's see what happens throughout the season. So moving on to another report in the Mirror. It's about Ange. We would not blame his lengthy injury list on the packed calendar, and I think he's kind of saying that, you know, like last season, he was kind of moaning that we didn't have enough games, and he's happy to be in the Europa League. So we can't really go back on that, like moan last season and then moan this season. Now we have more games. Injuries is just part of it, I'm afraid, isn't it? So he acknowledged that. Romero has a slight chance of returning, it says in the Mirror, but 6 senior players remain out. Obviously Vicario is out, Van der Ven is still out, and Richarlison's out. And Postecoglou kind of says it's a challenge for sure. Where we sit right now, I think we've handled it okay considering the issues we've had. We haven't had a luxury of a massive squad. We have to put big tasks to 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and we're in a decent position in all competitions, which is fact, we are in a decent position. It will be a challenge for us, particularly with the way we play. We want to play a high line intensity game, which will take out a lot of players' physicality and mentally. So this is another thing, isn't it? Because of our style of play with high press, you know, it will take its toll on the team. And throughout the season, you know, we will get more injuries. The players will get tired by next season, you know, in the new year. So look, we'll just see if this Ange's style of play will last the season. I have my doubts, seriously. He says we have to be really careful how we manage the team through that and the players. Loads to make sure we have some good space in the new year to challenge in the competitions we have. But Ange does not think moving league games involving who we play in Europe on a Thursday to the following Monday night would make too much difference. He added, we're at the mercy of the broadcasters as well, and we have to understand it. It's not always going to be ideal in the when the fixtures come out. Yeah, that was it really from the Mirror. Let's move on to another report here from Postecoglou talking about the January transfer window on the BBC. So Ange says he's planning for every scenario in the January transfer window, highlighting that 2 of his unused substitutes on Thursday were 16-year-old schoolboys. Malachi Hardy and midfielder Williams Barnett have yet to sign their professional deals and attended school on Friday after sitting on the Spurs bench during the 2-2 draw with Roma. Tottenham is one of several clubs competing in the Premier League and Europe with a squad stretched by injuries. Ange was asked to appraise his team's season so far, lying 6th in the league before 9th place Fulham visit Tottenham today. Again, we have 4 schoolboys on, including Callum, King. Last night, 2 of them were actually at school this morning, he said. We are working pretty hard with pretty limited factors, and we are maintaining competitiveness in competitions that we're in. We're in a good place to get to the next round and had to deal with some adversity. I think so far our season has been solid. Now that is really up to questionable. There are some good things that have gone this season. You know, obviously we've had some really good wins, but then we've had some shocking defeats. The position in the league is not too bad as we are close to the top positions. I just think so many teams are inconsistent as well, and that win-loss has kind of kept us not far from those positions. And would I say it's been a solid season? I wouldn't, because we're very vulnerable. We can see goals easily. You just never know what you're going to get from Spurs. But look, that's his opinion. That's what he thinks. He says it's obviously there's been some extremes which taints people's people's picture of where we're at. I always trying to take a step back and take a broader view. Spurs are currently without 7 players, including Romero. This is the report from the BBC. Ange says he is close but unlikely to return against Fulham. We've already said about we all know Van der Ven's out, Mikey Moore's injured, and Bentancur is suspended till Boxing Day. When asked about the transfer activity in January, he said he's been having meetings with Ange for a strategy in January. Postecoglou's added a lot of it will depend on where we are at a squad at that time. So I think what we're going to do is that when we get to that January transfer window, looking at the injury situation, then there might not be a choice. Spurs will have to go into that market, which is disappointing. Really, we should be going in that market anyway, knowing what's happened so far this season, knowing that we haven't done enough in the summer transfer window, and look, it sounds like we'll only do business if really needed to. But he said now he went back to talk about Romero and Van der Ven, who'll be back soon. Richarlison will be back in the new year. He then mentioned about the little bit of business we did in the January transfer window last season, signing Dragusin and Timu, and he said they ended up helping us. But nothing concrete now because January is always tricky. So that was the report there from the BBC. Now I'm going to move on to Sports Mole, and they're talking about the Tottenham Fulham game today. Just going to read out some interesting points from this article. It talks a lot about what happened in the last game. It goes on to say only 3 points separates Ange's outfit from Brighton, Arsenal, Chelsea before this weekend. Obviously, we've had games yesterday. Arsenal won, so that's changed now. But the crushing of City represents the host's only triumph from their last 4 matches in all tournaments, a sequence that also consecutive defeats to Galatasaray and Ipswich. Tottenham have at least found the back of the net in 8 straight home games across all competitions, other than that Arsenal home defeat. So one of the 7 losses Ange has overseen from 16 Premier League London derbies since he took reins in 2023. All the managers have taken charge of the last 10 matches for Tottenham's men. Ange is statistically the second worst when it comes to Premier League London derbies. His 44% loss rate is only marginally better than Glenn Hoddle's 48% in capital clashes. So Ange does not have a good record when it comes to London derbies, as I just read out those statistics. However, Spurs are hosting a Fulham side reeling from a big defeat to Wolves, having seen their 3-game unbeaten run come to an end in it's very poor circumstances. But Fulham have only fallen 1 point and 3 places below Tottenham in the league. So look, even Silva's loss and the other day, they're still around us. They made comment about the only pleasing aspect of last weekend's Fulham game against Wolves was that Iwobi's strike made it 13 games in all competition with at least 1 goal for Fulham, who have not shut out any team since losing to Manchester United in the opening Premier League contest of the season. It also says that if Fulham avoid defeat in each of their last 7 Premier League London derbies and could go unbeaten in 8 for the first time, most recently beating Spurs 3-0 last season at Craven Cottage in March. But their last league success on Tottenham turf arrived all the way back in 2013. That's interesting. So Fulham hasn't beaten us for quite some time now, and over 10 years they haven't beaten us at our ground. So that kind of points that hopefully that will point to a home win for Spurs today. Even though, look, we're all kind of doubt. I myself are predicting a defeat, especially if we play like we did against Roma. Not really much more to say in this article, really. Just some predictive lineups. They put here that Porro, Dragusin, Davis, Udogie, the back, Forrest in goal, Saba, Suma, Maddison, Kulusevski, Solanke and Son. I think that's the same starting lineup as we had against City, other than the goalie. Fulham's possible lineup, they said Lino in goal, Tete, Diop, Bassey, Robinson, Berg, Pereira, Torre, Smith-Rowe, Iwobi and Jimenez. So yeah, look, they've got quite a good side, quite tricky. So this is what Sportsmail think. This is their prediction. They said Spurs arguably should have a few qualms had Roma returned to Italy with all 3 points on Thursday, as Ange's depleted back line conceded numerous opportunities to Ranieri's side and should be breached at least once by a goal-happy Fulham. Yeah, but definitely Fulham are scoring today. Attack should therefore be best form of defence for Spurs, as it normally is, and while it may not be pretty, will still back the hosts to capitalise on their visitors' recent regard vulnerabilities to emerge triumphant and end Fulham's unbeaten derby run. So Fulham have got a very good record in the last 7 games on not losing in derbies. Fulham conceded 4 goals last week. Spurs score a lot of goals, so it looks like they will score against Fulham. Spurs also concede goals, so Fulham will score. So maybe it will be Spurs just because we're at home, just because we have better players overall against Fulham, that we should win. It all should point to a points victory. As long as the players go in with the right mentality, right attitude, don't take the game lightly at all, really have a go at Fulham, be clinical and obviously defend well. So look, I understand their prediction. For me, looking at our form guide, win-loss, 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 it looks like it will be a Fulham win. Fulham got some talented players, and I expect them to give us a good test. I think their manager's good. Silva, he hasn't got a big budget each season. He keeps that team around mid-table, challenging, playing well. I think he's a good manager, especially kind of under the circumstances he's working under Fulham. Fulham always remain competitive. Yes, they do lose games, like they did the other day, but I think it's a really tricky tie for Spurs, and Spurs really have to be on it. So the final thing we're going to talk about is just some extra things from the press conference on Friday. Talking about Solanke, hurt his groin, but should be okay. He was asked this question: are the wins against Manchester City and other sides this season justifying what you would say wanting entertainment? He said, I'm not just trying to justify anything, it's just the kind of team we want to be. I said last night we set out, and certainly I set out, to make the team that's always looking to be on the front foot, looking to score goals and be exciting to watch. At times that means maybe not being as controlled as other sides. That's okay, that's part of our identity. That's the road we started on and want to stick to. From our perspective, that's the team we want to be. Look, you know my thoughts on it. I can't be bothered to start talking about that again. Talking about Brendan Johnson. I was going to test my lip reading skills. You seem to be shouting instructions at Brendan Johnson, saying forward it seemed. Is it that at ease in some cases your football is still work in progress? And she says, yeah, it's always a work in progress. That's my role, to keep it driving the guys. There must be a tendency at times we want to go back from full throttle and ease. And I just felt at that point we were on top of them, and Brendan was looking dangerous every time we went forward, and we were looking good. I just thought it's a human nature. We were winning 2-1 at the time, and to just keep the ball, but that's not what we want to be. In those moments, it's more about me trying to empower, embolden the players, not to fear playing that way. So yeah, I think your lip reading was pretty good, mate. One Fulham player said Spurs win games and lose games, so you're not unbeatable. What do you make of that? And she says, we're not unbeatable. I've got news for you. No team is. Fulham aren't either. That's the beauty of our sport. Even Liverpool have lost this year, God forbid. What other teams think isn't really irrelevant to us. He's right about one point. On our day, we can beat anyone. We want to continue to be that. The best we can be. When we are that, we're a compelling side and growing into the team we want to be. Sunday's no different to any other game for us. It's about continuing to grow, continue to develop. When we kind of put all our elements together, we're a very, very good side. We've struggled in a few games this year for sure, but that's part of the growth, to make sure our levels don't drop to the levels in the games when we really haven't played well. Our identity, that's okay. It's why we're here. We want to continue to push on. So really going to Ange is kind of reining in expectations of fans, it's kind of excusing kind of the team's inconsistencies in many ways, referring back to the team's growth and putting it on the players, and like the players have got to take responsibility. I just think Ange needs to take more responsibility, to be honest. He needs to make decisions in games to get us through matches. If we're winning, drop back, stop playing out from the back, make us hard to beat and use our strengths in the counter-attack. So I'm just not really having that. I think it's just excuses for Ange. He's just saying what people want to hear. So he's asked, what are you expecting from Fulham? He said, they're not unbeatable. I've got a lot of time for Marco. I think he's an outstanding manager. He's got the team playing really well in a manner. They're always looking to be a threat to oppositions. He's stabilised them. The level of performance is good now on a weekly basis. We have a couple of tough battles with them last year because they play as well. Should be a good game. Anything else from his press conference? About pragmatic. Let me just read this one out to you. Is there any circumstance where you will be pragmatic? He says, look, I don't know how many ways I can say this. I understand it. Look, there's plenty of room for pragmatism in walks of life and football as well, but I'm not interested in it. I don't know why I need to change my approach to be like everyone else wants me to be. I'll continue to push this team to be different, to play football in a different way, and maybe I'm long gone. You'll all pine for my entertainment and you'll have your fill of pragmatism. But look, if we're pragmatic, I would say at 2-0 at City away, we had probably settled and we wouldn't have got the victory we did and made it a special moment for the club. I always think of the possibilities of what could be if we continue down this road rather than holding on to what we have. Because at the moment, what we have, we don't have a hell of a lot. We haven't achieved anything yet. We haven't had success. We haven't done all these things that we want to do. So if I start being pragmatic now, maybe you'll never get there. Last night, we weren't at our highest level. But geez, I thought for 20 minutes, we're exciting as we've been this season. I loved our last 20 minutes of the first half. We should have got a third goal to kill the game. But we were excited to watch, and that was that. Look, it's just excuses for me from Ange. He could have managed that game so much better against Roma. He's just putting it on. He's not changing. He just wants to win this way and that way only. And it is what it is. We will see today what sort of team turns up. We should win the game, of course, but I wouldn't be surprised if we lose. What are people's predictions? Please leave your comments. You know, are you feeling confident today? Or are you just unsure like myself? Are you looking forward to the game? Watch the game. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you all have a good afternoon. I'll be back on Tuesday night, Be on the Lane, episode 11. Please come down and join Nige, Purecoys and myself. We've got a couple of guests, great guests coming on. So that'll be great. We'll be reviewing that game. After the game today, I'll be probably dropping a little reaction video, my thoughts on the game. And yeah, come and check that out. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. And again, yeah, come on you Spurs, and just get us the win today. Because I don't want to be coming on later ranting and moaning about Spurs. Let's get a win. Let's put a good performance in. Let Ange and his team prove me wrong. We will see. Catch you all guys later. Take care.